Interesting article from Dylan Wells at the Washington Post going over podcasts by politicians. I thought this was a great concept for an article, so I'd encourage you to go check it out. But what really stuck with me from the article wasn't anything about what was actually in the podcasts, but the fact that almost nobody was listening to almost any of them. We have some top performers. Ted Cruz and Gavin Newsom both pull over 1.5 million views a month. Dan Crenshaw is a distant third with 364,000, still respectable. But then it falls completely off a cliff. Andy Bashir, a sitting governor and one of the big potential 2028 candidates, pulls just over 8,000 views a month. Jamie Harrison, former DNC chair, gets 1,800. The Fly-In, a podcast by the New Democrat Coalition, the largest ideological caucus for Democrats in Congress, gets just 501 views a month. The Washington Post article that these numbers came from inspired me to look into how some other institutional liberal publications are doing as well.
You're pro Gavin, right? I think so, but I don't know all that much about his policies or anything. All I know is that he mocks Trump and he's funny and people are mad at him, so I'm on board, okay?
And when it comes to YouTube especially, what I found was not pretty. As someone who's personally trying to carve out a space on this platform for a kind of broad-based liberal politics, I think it's bad that so many liberal politicians and publications are totally face-planting on this platform, especially when the right wing is completely dominating on social media. We've all heard by now too much about how the Democratic Party is failing to reach young people, especially young men. 41% of 18 to 29-year-olds regularly get news on YouTube, yet too many institutional publications and public figures still aren't meeting this audience.
I'm going to say this again, okay? The reason why I think that liberal commentators do not get many views on YouTube is because they're too serious, okay? They're not as entertaining as, like, seriously, just go out there, okay, as we have, right? Go out there and watch, like, a Candace Owens episode, okay, about Erica Kirk, or watch Tim Pool talk about Candace Owens, okay? These people are theater kids, all right? They have a flair for the dramatic. And not only that, they have a flair for extreme language, okay? There's nothing that the liberals do, like, there's nothing that the liberals say that is actually entertaining. Like, it's not funny. It's not, and because it's not funny, I can't listen to it for a long period of time. I can't absorb the information. And frankly, I would rather have something funny in the background if I want to listen to, like, white noise, right? I don't want to just simply listen to someone meander about the statistics of bad economic policies on behalf of Donald Trump, right? For me, that doesn't, like, yeah, that is useful information, but you can communicate that in a much better way, okay? You don't have to do this whole weird, like, oh my god, oh my god, the percentage just fell by 5%, and if we reinstate the plan here by these two specific, snore, boring, just call the other side evil and move on, okay? Anyway.
It's where it already actually is. These are people and organizations with budgets, staff, expertise, and the institutional credibility to bring on high-profile guests.
We need Gavin Newsom on an Ice Poseidon stream. That might actually work.
You'd think that this might all add up to an audience. How is it possible that nobody's watching these shows? And maybe more importantly, how can...
Because the entertainment factor is not there.
We fix it. First, let's take a look at one of the podcasts mentioned in that Washington Post article, the New Democrat Coalition show, The Fly-In. Just for some background, the New Democrat Coalition is the biggest ideological caucus for Democrats in the House of Representatives. They're center-left, and people generally think of them as being to the left of the more conservative blue dogs and to the right of the more progressive.
Gavin Newsom had a really great talk with Ezra Klein. I loved it. Nice.
Caucus. Their YouTube channel, as I'm writing this, has about 850 subscribers, 248 videos, and the most recent episodes of The Fly-In all have under 100 views. According to the Washington Post article, across all...
I think we're actually just cooked, okay? I think we're actually cooked. Holy shit. They don't know how to... Oh my god. Macabeth, you literally create better thumbnails than whatever this is, okay? It's like, are you even trying anymore? Like, are you doing anything? Are you trying to lose?
Platforms, the fly-in gets
Like,
about
what is that
500
thumbnail?
views a month. This video is an interview with Congresswoman Sarah McBride of Delaware. The topic is
You
the
didn't even
recent
edit a
government
thumbnail.
shutdown. The production is very professional looking. Someone's clearly spent some money on good cameras and microphones, not to mention the actual set, which also looks pretty fancy. The interviewer is another representative in
Wow.
Congress, Greg Landsman of Ohio. He does a good job at keeping the conversation flowing, and as a viewer, if you were watching this when it came out, you'd actually be in for something pretty interesting. Instead of journalists or pundits just speculating on the government shutdown, you'd get to see two members of Congress discussing the government shutdown. Two of the people who actually hold some power in Washington discussing the government shutdown in a pretty candid way. Unfortunately, you probably didn't get to see this, I think, fairly unique perspective because in a month, this video only got 97 views. How could this be? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Imagine you were a viewer coming across this thumbnail and title in your recommended feed. What would you think this video is about?
This is shit, okay? Stop. How do you not know how to be a content creator at this point, okay? This is unacceptable, all right? My literal fucking little brother could probably make a better thumbnail than this, okay? And he plays Valorant all day, all right? This is trash. This is total doo-doo butter, okay? There are TV production people not hiring people that live and breathe YouTube. Yeah, they need terminally online schizos, okay? Macabess, you should get hired, okay? I would approve, okay?
Would you know that this is an interview of Congresswoman Sarah McBride? Would you know that the person interviewing her is another member of Congress? Probably not, unless you're an insanely eagle-eyed, politics-addicted news junkie. I would guess that these thumbnails were auto-generated by YouTube. If you don't make one yourself like most YouTubers do, YouTube will just pick a frame from the video and make that the thumbnail. Look at the title. What's communicated about the topic of this interview? Literally nothing. We know that this is episode 18 of a series, but even that doesn't actually communicate much since these episodes don't need to be watched in order or anything. These episode numbers aren't actually doing anything for us. Instead of giving you any information about what the video is actually about, every episode of The Fly-In is given a title with some sort of enigmatic reference to planes or air travel. Let's compare the title and thumbnail from this video to one from Pod Save America, since I'm imagining that The Fly-In is trying to target a similar audience. Also an interview with Sarah McBride, this time with a thumbnail that clearly pictures who's being interviewed, the interviewer, Trump, and some big bold text with the general theme of the video. This video also has a title that tells you who's being interviewed and exactly what's going to be discussed in the video. I want to emphasize again that the New Democrat Coalition is not some small or unimportant group that I'm picking on here. They have plenty of resources at their disposal and some pretty massive platforms to promote this podcast on. They've clearly invested both in terms of actual cash and in terms of the time of some very important people in the success of this podcast. Why drop the baton at the finish line, folks? Make a nice looking thumbnail. Make the titles descriptive of what's actually in the video.
I love this picky criticism, okay? All right? This snarky, picky criticism. I approve.
Sarah McBride has some name ID. Why is her name not in the title? There's some potential here, and I hope the New Democrat Coalition makes some changes instead of treating this stuff like an afterthought. Okay, now let's move on to the next one, a podcast with the governor of Kentucky and potential 2028 presidential contender, Andy Beshear. This one's doing a little better. According to the Washington Post article, it's pulling 8,000 or so views a month. Its production is also very slick. Guests are very high profile. The most recent two guests are Keith Edwards and candidate for governor, Rob Sand. These titles are a lot better than what we saw from the New Democrat Coalition, but man, what is going on with the thumbnail?
This is not okay, okay? There's no open faces. This is copy and paste right here. Not that it's wrong or incorrect to copy and paste, because you can copy and paste, but 2 times in a row is not good. No one can even read the text here, okay? You need something that is short and snappy. Nobody has their face open in the fucking poggers, like fucking emote on their face. There's no draw, there's no attraction to why I might click on something like this. Yeah, I mean it's trash, okay? It's a trashy thumbnail, and nobody knows who these people are anyway, okay? So
again, better than what we saw from the New Dems podcast, but Not exactly a high
Not
bar.
enough.
Let's compare this to what
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom, another governor and potential 2028 contender, does for his interview thumbnails. Instead of Andy Bashir's name being front and center, the Newsom thumbnail prominently features the topic of the interview. There's no superfluous episode numbers, and his personal logo is small because his face is already on the thumbnail.
Yep.
These guys are both governors. Their production quality and access to interesting guests is about the same, and they both have large personal platforms that they could use to give their channels a kickstart. They aren't starting from scratch, and they could both be successful on this platform. I don't want to pretend to be some sort of YouTube guru. I'm absolutely not. It could be that they
What's this? Kelly confirms that everyone in JStock's server has known that Saba guy has been a creep stalker of women for at least a year. Isn't Saba the dude that was pesting women? Like, please respond, I'm begging. Damn, bro. That's pathetic. Holy shit. He also used to stalk women that Darius met on stream. Someone sent me an Imgur album of a woman he stalked and harassed a couple years ago. Interesting. Okay, well, I'm not surprised, okay?
make these changes, pay for someone to make them some better thumbnails, and still have their videos flop. All I'm saying is that right now there's a whole lot of Democratic politicians, it's more than the ones I went over, believe me, uploading to YouTube because some consultant told them they needed to make a podcast after the 2024 election. They're spending real time and money on these projects, and I think if they're going to spend all that time and money, they should be giving themselves the best chance of success for not all that much extra effort. That's enough about politicians, though.
Hi,
Let's
Ryan.
talk about some liberal media. I have a lot of appreciation for magazine journalism. They produce high quality work that I think is valuable because it often explores ideas in a deeper way than standard news content. Magazines like The New Republic or The Nation or The Atlantic, and plenty of others too, have been really important to shaping American liberal politics for generations. Unfortunately, too many of these storied, well-resourced, well-connected media companies that have done so much to move American politics in a liberal direction are making the same mistakes as those politicians that we just talked about and are failing to reach out to an audience that doesn't buy magazine subscriptions. Let's look at the New Republic first. What we see, and this is a pretty common theme with magazines and publications that treat YouTube as a kind of ancillary thing instead of as a real important way to distribute content, is that they're uploading a whole lot of stuff that just skips out on the video component entirely. I listened to a few episodes of The Daily Blast with Greg Sargent. Good podcast. It would do better with a Zoom subscription and some thumbnails that aren't just copied and pasted. The other consistent uploads on their channel have those same bad pre-generated thumbnails that the New Dems podcast had. Nobody's clicking on these. The Nation is up next. The last time they uploaded was 6 months ago. Unfortunately, they seem to have just given up on YouTube. They used to know how to use the platform. This video was uploaded 13 years ago, and it has almost 4 million views. For some positive notes this time, though, let's look.
Wait, what? Holy shit, 4 million?
13 years ago, and it has almost 4 million views. For some positive notes this time, though, let's look at The Atlantic. What we see here is actually a perfect illustration of what I'm talking about, all on one channel. This entire channel is currently being carried by the Never Trump conservative David Frum. Episodes of The David Frum Show are the only thing that The Atlantic uploads on their YouTube that consistently gets views. His video titles and thumbnails are very standard, but also pretty well executed. The videos themselves aren't fancy at all, not even.
I mean, something like this still isn't the best thumbnail because nobody is going to be reading this, okay? Straight up. Okay, straight up, no one is reading this, okay? The reason why any new viewers will probably click on this is probably not because of this, probably not because of the thumbnail, but probably because of the title, okay? MAGA has repulsed young woman, okay? Boom, click, right? Of course you want to click like something like that, right? You want the slop fed into your brain, right? But you're not going to be clicking the thumbnail from, like, you're not going to be clicking based on the thumbnail. The thumbnail is lame, okay? Like, the thumbnail is just, nobody knows who this person is. Nobody can read this. Nobody can read this. Nobody can read this, right? Nobody can read this. Like, nobody cares, right? So again, this is just very scuffed, right? There's no bright colors popping out to me. There's no, there's no gaping mouths or anything like that. The only thing I will say is that his facial expression seems to be like a little bit concerned. But that's really about it.
Very
I don't know.
standard, but
It's
also
not-
pretty well executed. The videos themselves aren't fancy at all, not even a little bit, just faces on screen. This stuff doesn't have to be super high production value to be successful, it just has to be there. Inexplicably, though, The Atlantic also is uploading vertical videos as normal YouTube videos when they should be shorts. And of course, we also have plenty of videos uploaded with no video component at all, just a static image and audio. You can see the difference in performance between the David Frum episodes and everything else. Thankfully, someone at The Atlantic seems to have noticed this trend too, because they've recently launched a new interview show called Galaxy Brain with good thumbnails, good titles, and a basic video component. They're also
Hank Green.
leveraging their institutional connections to bring on big name guests that would resonate with a YouTube audience. The first guest on Galaxy Brain was Hank Green. This is exactly the type of thing that more magazine type publications trying to bring their message to the YouTube audience should be doing. The first episode of Galaxy Brain got 40,000 views, which is the most any non-David Frum show video on the Atlantic's channel has gotten in months. Nice job. I think there's a couple reasonable objections to the point that I'm trying to make here that I want to address. First, I'm sure many of you are thinking that these publications are failing to make the transition to a YouTube audience because they're not new media, they're mainstream media, and people online don't want to watch mainstream media on YouTube. I think to that point, I'd say just look at the numbers that CNN and MSNBC are putting up with their YouTube channels, or even the New York Times. Take a look at the numbers our old friend Ezra Klein gets. People do watch mainstream political stuff
I wouldn't even say Ezra Klein's thumbnails are like the best either. Like,
on YouTube. Take a look at the numbers.
Generally, if I were to try to give advice, and you know, take it with a grain of salt, okay, I'm just one person. But if I were to give advice, like, I wouldn't think I would suggest something like black or white, okay? Black or white isn't entirely appealing. Yeah, the black or white, just don't do black or white, okay? Just don't do it, okay? It doesn't pop out to the eyes. Viewers don't catch on to that color, like, to black or white very well, okay? I'll say the only reason why he might be getting more views is probably because I mean, he's Ezra Klein. The title there is it has a little bit of red in it, and red contrasts well with white. And then if you look at the bottom, the titles can be pretty simple. The blue wave cometh. Yeah, I want to see what the fuck this is about, right?
Our old friend Ezra Klein gets. People do watch mainstream political stuff on YouTube. A lot of these older, prestiged liberal outlets just aren't doing a very good job of making content that reaches an audience online. A second objection to my points here might be that I'm showing interview shows and news reaction content, and that I haven't really shown that there's a demand for the kind of long-form essay content that political magazines put out. To that, I would say you're watching a video essay right now. There's a whole ecosystem of really great and talented people out there doing this stuff already independently without any of the institutional backing or resources that working for a larger publication might bring. Right now, we see a ton of success for more institutional liberal publications doing basic news reaction content and interview shows. And we see a lot of success for independent creators doing more long-form essay type content. I'm sure you can think of your favorite video essayists off the top of your head that cover politics. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and become a channel member, by the way. But seriously, I think there's a...
Wow. That was a fast promo. Oh, is that what you were? Is that what you had in mind, Magabes?
Gap in the market right now for more of that long form, more intellectually engaging content that these older institutional magazine type publications with money, resources, and connections could fill. And if the old school magazines can't bring themselves to turn on a camera, they should work with any of the many people who already have a proven track record of making content like that on YouTube. This sounds absurd because I think it's not something that's really done a ton on this platform, I don't think anyway. But in concept, it's not much different than a print publication having a guest columnist. I think this type of publication could absolutely make it work on YouTube. We see a version of this, I think, with the kind of content that Vox makes, high production value explainers on politics, culture, technology, and other stuff too. There's nothing magical about them. They just were born on the internet, so they take this stuff way more seriously than magazines and other publications that have been around for 100 years. To really drive the point home, you know who's basically already doing this on the right? The Daily Wire. Their hosts intersperse clickbaity news reaction content with what basically amounts to long-form video essays. All these old school, prestigious, liberal journalistic institutions are getting beat badly online by the Daily Wire. This should be both embarrassing and motivating, I think. The last objection that I think someone might have to my point about how it's bad that the old liberal institutional media isn't adapting is that maybe it's good that all these old magazines can't seem to figure out how to make a thumbnail. May 1,000 independent YouTubers and Substackers and whatever else rise from the ashes. I understand why you might feel that way. I'm sometimes tempted to feel that way because the fact that so many institutions supposedly care about advancing a particular point of view in American politics, but can't commit to a YouTube channel in 2025 is just one example of how out of touch the old media can be sometimes. But the truth is, I can't get Hank Green to come on the debut episode of my new podcast. The Atlantic can. I can't get gubernatorial candidates or multiple Congress members to do long-form interviews with me,
True.
even though literally nobody...
The fact that they can get Hank Green onto episode 1 is nuts. Okay? That's nuts. Alright? And you know what? Maybe nuts isn't even the correct descriptor because that it's too moderate to describe, like getting someone as famous as Hank Green onto your first episode, okay? That's nuts, all right? That must be some extremely powerful connections to pull something like that, okay? But
nobody's watching.
Like the fact that it's being squandered is what hurts me the most, you know? And you know, people are gonna be talking about that, like, oh my god, like, how did you squander an opportunity like this? But you know what? They didn't squander it all the way, but at the same time, you know, it could have done more. We all know that it could have done more, right? But
the New Dems podcast and Andy Bashir can. These politicians and old media outlets have serious institutional credibility and power that is being squandered right now on nothing. If the politicians and the old media can't get their message to where people actually are on YouTube and in other audiovisual formats instead of in print and stuck behind a paywall that nobody's going to pay for, fine. There will always be people with a microphone and a dream who are trying to pick up the slack. But ideally, I'd much rather have them effectively fighting on my side than have them not exist at all. It's been a year since the so-called podcast election of 2024, and too many big-name liberal politicians and media companies still haven't figured out how to make a thumbnail. This needs to change. Editors, feel free to email me for my consulting fee. To the rest of you, thanks for watching. Thank you so much.
oh, he's not talking about you, Magabez. He's talking about, like, editors for the fucking Libertine. I was like, oh my god, Magabez, look! A great opportunity! I was like, oh, wait, never mind. Oh, okay. Alright, cool. Bro, I swear to god, I'm drifting off to sleep. Holy shit. I'm so tired. I'm fucking going to bed after this fucking stream. Holy shit. No. I need to, oh god, I need to, I need to play some games of Arc Raiders, okay, with people that I said that I would want to play with. Oh my god.
2 for war. You
Rip!
think
Wait,
we 2 for war?
you saw this?
Look at these AI Christmas toys. We're so cooked.
Here's
Is
some
this
commonly used
Great Trump parody on Ukraine peace deal? Skibidi toilet. Oh, I like that.
Great job. It is a great honor.
Oh, that's his voice exactly. Straight up. That is Donald Trump's voice. Straight up. Okay, that's perfect.
For you to hear me tell you
That's perfect.
about
That's
the
perfect.
latest war
Holy
I've
shit.
ended. I'm stopping wars
That's
everywhere.
perfect. Holy shit.
7 since I began this speech, including the War of the Roses, the War of the Worlds, War for Planet of the Apes,
I want to hear what his regular
War
voice
Horse,
sounds like.
World War
That's
Z,
crazy.
Star Wars,
Star
and the
Trek.
Civil War in America. I'm working on that one in the moment. The latest one was in Ukraine. And I said to President Zelensky, not a very nice person, not a
Think Gillis
grateful
does it
person,
really
not a
well,
great guy. I said, guess how I'm going to end this war? And he said, I give up. And I said, absolutely right. So here's the latest peace deal, which was dictated to me by President Putin. He's a great dictator. I love dictators, fact. So, 1, Russia to keep all captured territory, including the White House. 2, free and fair elections in Ukraine, whereby Vlad Zelensky is replaced by a more suitable president who wears a suit, i.e. Vladimir Putin. 3, Chicken Kyiv to be renamed Chicken Moscow. 4, Donbass to be renamed Don Trump. 5, Ukrainian army to be halved, soldiers' legs removed from their bodies. Great job. 6, 500,000 peacekeeping Russian troops to be dispatched to Ukraine to monitor the ceasefire. 7, President Trump to be guaranteed security of Ukraine's precious minerals, i.e. dilithium, kryptonite, and maydupium.
Nice.
8, Russia to be found innocent of all war crimes that they didn't commit and all the ones they are about to not commit. 9, Nigel Farage to be made king of the United Kingdom.
So stupid.
And 10, President Trump to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Donald Trump.
That was a perfect impression. Holy shit. That actually was a perfect impression.